It's all about routines, routines, routines. No matter how you slice it.
Slice, slice, baby. Slice, slice.
That's what it's about. It's about classroom management and routines. I've been teaching 20-something years, and I can tell you from experience, without routines, without classroom management, things fall apart so fast, and you'll never get the lesson out that you want to get out. And so anytime a speaker comes to my school to talk about, the latest trend, the latest thing that we're working on, man, in the back of my mind, I'm trying to say, all right, no, listen. But more often than not, I feel it's so much fluff and ideas and philosophy without anything really tangible to it. And recently, that was the exact same case. We had somebody come to my school to talk about something called MTSS, Multiple Tiers of Student Support. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Multiple tiers of support. And they were talking about all these different things. They're talking about how to react to students, how to respond to students, how to phrase things. And the big push, especially here in California, the big push is less consequence, or less punishment, they call it, and more restorative practices. Now, I might just be old, but for me, man, if you take the word discipline away from education, I have a hard time with it. Because personally, discipline I see as such an important thing for somebody to get better is for them to learn to be disciplined, self-discipline. And if students don't have that structure, then as adults, that's one thing we have to do is the discipline. Now, discipline isn't always negative. People think of it negative. It's not negative. It's that, hey, this behavior creates this consequence. This behavior creates this consequence. And discipline is keeping up with that, doing something you don't want to do so you can have the results that you want. And if students can't do it themselves, then that's what we're here as adults to do. So when they came to speak to us and they start kind of taking away that word discipline and start replacing it with restorative practice, my antennas go up. My antennas go, I don't know about this. And so as the speaker is talking, one thing that they mention, and what I always do, I always put it through my funnel. I always think, how could I actually use what they're talking about? Or how does this fit into my framework? Or do I need to change? I'm really thinking about this. I don't just blow them off. I really think about what they're saying. And there's one thing that they mentioned that I said, this I can get behind. And what it was this. They said, all right. They said, a better way of dealing with behavior is not being reactive. Not saying, here is the consequence for the behavior. They say you should put more effort in to try to stop the behavior from happening to begin with. Now, the next question, well, what does that look like? Shouldn't a student be, am I responsible for the kid's actions and feelings and all this stuff? And the more I listen, I'm like, wait a second. No, I get it. Because one thing I am big on in classroom management is this. Routines and procedures. I spend the first 2 weeks of my school year going over routines and procedures. And the reason I do it, because it creates a structure. So here's the question. Why do you want structure in your classroom? Why do you want classroom management in your classroom? And the answer is this. By doing that, you control all those variables which could lead to behavior. So for example, what they had us do a little role play, and it went something like this. All right. So let's say little Johnny has a pencil and he pokes Susie. All right, Johnny. So the question is, what happened right before Johnny poked Susie? What happened right before that? They said if you can figure out what happened right before that, then you can go ahead and change that environment before he pokes her. And I thought, now I don't really put a lot of thought into it. I see Johnny poking Susie, I go, hey Johnny, don't do that, all right? But I realize I do put so much thought into that. Not specifically with Johnny, but I put so much thought into how I can change the environment in my classroom so things like that don't occur. And the answer is routines and procedures. So for example, a routine that I have is this. If a student needs a sharpened pencil, they're going to raise their hand. They're going to raise their hand before they sharpen a pencil. And then that way they can get up, and that way I can monitor their action from their seat to the pencil sharpener and back again. Without that routine put in place, that procedure in place, that is when Johnny can get up and poke little Susie. So that is a routine I put in place. Why? Just to control the environment. But I realize I do that to minimize all those little things that could happen. So when it comes time for your classroom, if you hear this new philosophy, MTSS, multi-tier student support, I would ask you to kind of maybe listen to what they say. And when they talk about the thing that happened right before that, that is your cue to focus more on routines and procedures. Because if you do that, you're going to stop a lot of things from going crazy in your class.